Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to the final match of our subscriber game tournament as Zero managed to even the score to 1 apiece with his Burren Town Center defense in Game 2, and we're now at our deciding match as King of Yan in the green will take on Zero in the red one final time, back in the same exact map we used for round 1 as our subscriber game tournament comes full circle. Now like always, before we jump into the battle itself, let's first take a look at both players' drafts. So starting with King of Yan, he has picked a composition of Wen Chuo, Xu Huang, and Yan Baihu. And these generals are really similar to the composition that he used for his actual round 1 match where he had Wen Chuo, Dian Wei, and Yan Baihu. But some units did get changed. I think he's adapting to the meta by going with 4 of the Ye Vanguard Spearmen, really good counter cavalry options here if put in square formation. 2 of Yuan Shao's mounted northern raiders with very good charge bonus, and on Xu Huang we have 4 of the Qingzhou assault infantry, which has really good melee damage as well as the misplaced devotion ability. And finally on Yan Baihu, he has the Yue tribal spearmen plus 1 archer militia. Now typically I hate archer militia as a choice, but I think what he wants to do here is have a stock unit that can apply maybe poison arrow or fire arrow as a debuff on the enemy. It's a pretty cheap option. I actually like this comp a lot. The only thing I really don't like here is the unit choice on Yan Baihu. Aside from the archer militia, I think he would benefit a lot more from having just the basic banded shock cavalry as a recruit on Yan Baihu. Invisible shock cavalries are really valuable on open field fights because you can always maneuver them in unexpected spots without the enemy reacting, assuming they don't have any vision on you. And overall, these 3 generals are very powerful. We have a roar from both Xu Huang as well as Wen Chuo. There are 4 uses on Wen Chuo's roar, which gives minus 30 morale, and Xu Huang's roar of the beast is a minus 18 morale, I believe. You also have the AoE clear on Xu Huang's Flame of the Phoenix. Wen Chuo has a pretty decent Binding Fury, I believe, and maybe he has Hamstring as well, which someone pointed out to me, if dismounted, works similar to Flame of the Phoenix. And finally, we have Yan Baihu with his Poison Volley. So this is a nice combination of generals to use. What he's lacking is perhaps some sort of debuff from a strategist, but that is trade-offs you have to make somewhere. Then looking at Zero's side, we have Cao Cao, Guan Yu, Lu Bu. This is the exact same comp that Zero used for round 1, and even the units are pretty much the same. I believe the only difference between this composition compared to his round 1 is he swapped out one of his crossbow units in round 1 for a mounted horse archer. I believe the northern mounted archer on Cao Cao. And that's pretty much the only difference. I think the money that he saved there is used to get better cavalry. I think he had maybe slightly worse shock cavalry, but this is pretty much the same exact comp he used in round 1. So it's kind of a full circle for both players as well, as they went ahead and used compositions that they had success with in round 1, as I believe both of these players probably practiced with this composition before round 1 and felt best with this. And looking at the units picked on Zero's side, we have the standard range component with the crossbow units, and this is where if King of Yan actually went with cavalry units on Yan Baihu, would have a pretty easy time picking on these crossbow units and eliminating them before they can do their damage. But aside from that, Zero really likes Spear Warriors. They're great units. I can see why he likes them. They have good charge, good damage, can act as a front line, and they're pretty cheap. So I don't hate it there. And the reason why he's recruiting them on Guan Yu, or rather, he's picked them because Guan Yu has a very limited roster of units since he belongs to Liu Bei's faction. So since he wanted to use Guan Yu here, which he values as a strong general with the God of War ability, he ended up picking Spirit Warriors, which is probably one of the better options on Guan Yu at the cheap end. Then finally we have Lu Bu with assortment of cavalry. So I think there are Peasant Raiders, 2 of them, there are Lance Cavalry, 2 of them, and there are Seadown Cavalry, 2 of them. And of course, the main reason you want this general here is for Lu Bu himself, and of course with Shock Cavalry being one of the most powerful unit in Total War 3 Kingdom, it's nice to have plenty of them, as they can help out with the general fights as well as chasing down enemy horse archers or crashing into those Qingzhou assault infantry, which are not good against cavalry. Although they are recruited on Xu Huang, so if they are braced, they will negate the charge. But the trick is, they have to be braced. So with all that said, let's hop into this battle and settle the subscriber game tournament once for all and see who comes out victorious at the end. Alrighty, so as we load into game here and pause in tactical view, it has all come down to this, as our two players finally meet in the final match of the tournament. And looking at deployment, there's a few cheeky moves. There are two peasant raiders right behind King of Yan's army, placed by Zero, and they're hiding in a forest. Perhaps they will try to sneak attack against some of these units. The only problem being King of Yan actually doesn't have any very vulnerable units. There's a few Qingzhou assault infantry that he can target, and that's pretty much it. These northern mounted raiders are probably going to be moving around. Yan Baihu is also going to try to sneak up, and the rest of the units are spear units, so that's really hard to deal with. And if these vanguard spearmen are actually placed in square, they can pick off these cavalry before they really even make impact with the rest of the army. This one archer militia, although vulnerable, is hidden because he belongs to Yan Baihu's retinue, so he can't just charge at them. He doesn't have vision on them because he doesn't have a foresight strategist. So Yan Baihu is going to have a field day here, and sneaking Yan Baihu into a position on this army to hit the poison volley is going to be crucial. If he can land a hit across these spear warriors, that's going to be such a win for him. Whether he could get up close to do that or not, it really depends on how he micro the situation. You typically want some sort of distraction to be going on, and then you silently sneak your Yan Baihu across. By the time that the game loads and Zero spots only two generals, it's pretty clear message that Yan Baihu is probably being played. There's an off chance that he's hiding perhaps a retinue of units in a forest somewhere, but that's a very low chance proposition with how sparse the trees are on this map. So let's take a look in detail of what the units are and how they're placed for each side. So we have a very defensive setup for both sides. We have the frontline spear, you have the melee infantry held in reserve, two flank protecting spear units. So how you have tribesmen work is that they're basically spear warrior clones for the same price, I believe, and they're slightly better because they're invisible here. So they're pretty much Yan Baihu's version of the spear warrior. If you look at the stats, it's identical. It's almost identical stats with even better charge as well. So a better version of the spear warrior. And their value is if you hide them on the side, the enemy cavalry will bump into them without knowing they're there. And you can get an easy brace spear off on enemy cavalry and quickly wipe them out with your spear weapon afterward. And this unit here is to apply debuffs to enemies. And then the generals will fight it out. Everyone's tier 3, no doubt. And there's not much to say about this composition. Looking over here at Zero side, very similar setup. So front line of spear warriors, two flanking spear warriors, and the 4 crossbowmen. He has 4 of his cavalry sitting back here to respond to any rear surprise charges, and they're going to be the Xiliang cavalry plus the lance cavalry variety. Then the 3 generals are all tier 3, no surprises there. So that's pretty much it. There's not much to say. This is going to be a nice open field fight. Yan Baihu's maneuvering is going to be pretty key here, and let's see how that turns out. So Yan Baihu and the 2 range cavalry are being sent up. The general will need to stay close enough to reinforce. And you can see Zero's responding. He's looking. He's trying to spot out if he's has enemies right behind him. They could be guerrilla deployed right behind, because I've done that in all my script matches. I have basically showcased that guerrilla deploying right behind the deployment zone with stock units. It's a very effective way of wiping out or surprising your foe. But anyways, we have Cao Cao here being commanded to basically scout. This is a very similar to an AI scouting mission that they do. And if I'm Yan Baihu here, I'm just going to walk up to here and just spray them. No hesitation. They're being pulled back, knowing that this area is now safe. General creeping up. I might wait with him for a little bit. I might send the general out to attack Guan Yu, because he's kind of isolated. If I run the 2 general over there, the attention will be placed over there, and then Yamahu come in and sneak attack. Because right now he's moving the general too close to where his hidden unit is. So if I'm Zero, I'm looking here, and then once he shows up, I can Ooh, he went with a very low risk shot there. Not many killed there. The poison damage will take a little, but it's not going to be very effective. But a very nice tactical retreat by Zero there to pull away from any potential damage from Yamahu. But there's still 3 more volleys, so there's a chance. The cavalries are being pulled up. Yamahu should just pull away. This is kind of telling you Yamahu's right here. And you want to surprise them, right? Yamahu should be looping this way right now when they're looking over here, and then you shoot them. Oh, meanwhile, well, I wasn't even looking. Zero's doing a great job of microing away from where the action's happening. Suicided his 2 cavalry into the army here. They'll do a decent amount of damage. 21 killed. How about the other unit? 19. 40 killed. I think mostly the Qingzhou variants, because they're not spear units. I mean, these 2 units are going to die, so I'm not sure if 40 infantry kills are worth it. Chase, just finish them. The enemy's so far away. Honestly, the Vanguard Spearmen should be placed in square formation pretty much at all times. They should not be fired well. It gives away your position. I wonder why. See, Yamahu should have just snuck around, and when the action's happening right here and micro's needed, he can get a clear shot here when they're clearly microing their generals. If you're worried about them sneak up on your other 2 generals, just square it up, put your generals in the middle of the square, and then go micro Yamahu up there, and you'll be fine. So these 3 should be hidden. Yep. Well, they know they're in this forest, but because they also don't have foresight, you don't know exactly where now. You can't charge at them. And you can see some of the dead from that charge, including some of the cavalry unit themselves. It's a fair trade, I think. Value-wise, definitely, I think Zero lost value. Those 2 cavalry cost at least 800 plus, and you killed off maybe 40 of the Qingzhou units. Not really a good trade. Yeah, Yamahu could have been doing this whole time. And Zero's being very proactive, clearing his flanks with cavalry to gain vision in this area, to make sure they're not getting shot at. Because right now he's focused there because he knows his general's safe. You can only have your attention somewhere. And when the attention was over here, Yamahu had his chance, but now I think he's lost that chance. I think he just sit here and send some units over here, use your cavalry to chase into that forest, force Zero to do something with his general, then come here for a very, very nice poison volley that can just devastate half of this units here. This is risky. Yamahu doesn't have any AoE clear. He gets caught by these cavalry, he's going to lose a lot of health. The trees, though. Okay, yeah, the tree's going to take a couple of shots. It's still worth... he probably could have been more aggressive, get up closer. But you can see the damage. One of the crossbow units died. So he's down to 2 remaining poison volleys. He's going to get caught right here. He's trying to use tactical withdrawal to gain some speed to pull away. 108 speed. And I think he probably could get out safely. The general's being moved. These units should be ready to shoot. Should have pulled up a little bit closer, because the cavalry's not going to overchase now. Yeah, there was a slight delay in the command there. No, don't chase. I don't know why all the infantry is suddenly charging at generals. Just be braced. Pull your general back into your infantry. If they have the chase command, they lose their mounts. And this poison arrow shooting your own units. Shooting your own units. Ooh, poison volley. Okay. one remaining shot on Yan Baihu. It's a terrible ability to use against generals, because Poison Volley's base damage is only 500 range damage per arrow in that shot, whereas Hail of Arrows is 1.5. So most of the damage on this is on the poison ticks spread across every single unit in a retinue versus a single entity. So you're only doing 90 poison damage to the generals here, whereas it's 90 to each of them that got touched. It's a very different damage calculation, so you really shouldn't even try to shoot them at the generals. It's a waste. Alright, we have the general action. Let's see if we can see some sort of mass dismount. Oh, Wentro's caught out. Nope, they're being pulled away. No one's really hard committing. Yeah, I don't like how King of Yan's using his spear units. They need to be more steady. Have a bunch of squares ready, have your generals move around, attack them, pull back, try to get them trapped into your squares, and there goes that archer militia. One charge and they're done. They should just have Firewall turned off so they're invisible and pick off some key targets when they get close. Team Assault infantry without any formations are also purple melee infantry. They will not dismount, so generals can have fun chasing into that. Poison volleys are, yeah, you end up hurting your units. So poison damage is really effective against units, not generals. So you end up hurting a lot of your... Ooh, what is going on? So, that was bad. Because it hit his own general. Ventral got... Okay, so that's that. Yan Baihu lined up a shot and definitely targeted the enemy, but his own general was right in the same area and all the volleys hit his own generals. So Ventral lost his health to his own poison volley, and then the three generals were also fighting Xu Huang at the same time. Xu Huang got killed. They also had the melee evasion buff when they landed first too. So there goes all three of King of Yan's generals. And his units are pushing up to help this mess. Infantries are not good general killers. You know, they just not designed to do that. They're much more effective just holding a line here. The micro attention is not on these units at all. You can see the cavalry's not being moved. The archer bounced back, but what can the archer do? So we're gonna have the charge, slam. While he's losing health, you know, you're still fighting hundreds of units, so you will still lose quite a bit of health. But you're just buying time for your cavalry to come in for their flank charge. They're not braced, they're in combat. Morale is going to be shaky. There are no roars. Oh, Ventral bounced back, came back, got killed. Yan Baihu doing the same thing versus Lu Bu. Yeah. And that's going to be pretty much it. That single poison volley determined it. Team kill. There's definitely, you know, no one has perfect micro. Like right now, these cavalry should be charging these. Not happening, because Zero's trying to win the fight here. Cao Cao's still on his horse, so he's chasing down the general to make sure they don't bounce back. And I don't think they're going to bounce back. Yeah, whenever you use a ability such as Hail of Arrows or Poison Volley or even Heartseeker, having a friendly general take the shot's always a risk, especially since you're in this close area here, everyone dismounted. Alright, we have the units bouncing back for now, but now it's just a matter of time. Yan Baihu has been chased down and killed. I guess King of Yan can just make a valiant stand on this hill as Guan Yuanli will make short work of all the infantry units. Ooh. How did they get a crossbow shot out at this close range as they're running up with their spear? Impressive, but still. A quick volley before pulling the spear out. Yeah, the invisible Yue units are being thrown to combat too. And they have all finally succumbed to army loss. And there we have it. Zero is going to be the champion of our first ever subscriber game tournament. Now, future tournaments will happen. They're probably not going to be called subscriber game tournament. This one is called that because this is a celebration event for the channel reaching 20k subscribers. And this is sort of a subscriber only celebratory event for that occasion, for that milestone. And it turned out quite nice. Very enjoyable experience overall. Great action here from all the players, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. So let's quickly go to the end screen and take a look at the numbers. And even though Yan Baihu has 95 kills, a lot of that damage ended up going onto his own fellow generals as he whiffed on the enemy targets and ended up team killing both of his other generals. A bit unfortunate there, but that's that. You know, that's a skill shot, carries risk, and a misplay like that is going to end the match. These units, the Ye Vanguard Spearmen, I believe are very poorly used. They're very good stationary defensive tools. You have a spear unit, they need to be braced. They have the perfect formation to stay braced while still impacting the battle by having their crossbow in square. So essentially you just need to place them, like make a square with the squares if you want. Keep your melee infantry in the middle, and then just charge your generals out. If the enemy general chase, charge back, let the crossbow shoot them, let the crossbow shoot any cavalry that try to get close, harass with the two other mounted raiders, have Yan Baihu separate from the other two generals. It's nice that they're there to back him up after he volleys, but then be a little bit more deceptive, pull him away, you know, he's invisible. Let the enemy think they're together, and then when they're microing somewhere else, go in for a very nice volley. You see the effect of that one perfect volley? It annihilated one unit that's closest to it, and all the units back took massive damage, right? Essentially, he got like 14 kills on the first volley, and then the 81 kill, or most of this kill, came from that perfect second volley. And if he had just stayed around to do that 2 more times before committing to any sort of engagement, and this is not considering the units that die from the poison effect, this is only units that are killed from the direct impact of the arrows. So the kill count's actually much higher. And if you gotten 2 more of those rounds off, pretty much I think these 2 groups of retinues are all dead. And then there's nothing the shot cavalry can really do against the square, and he can just creep the square formation up closer and closer, force the fight, and then have a legit general versus general battle, which we won't know the actual outcome, but it'll be close. Good quality generals on both sides. And the Qingzhou units, despite being charged by cavalry early, despite fighting generals, still did decent amount of damage against the spear guards and the spear warriors and the cavalry units that charged up against them. So overall, good fights. A bit misplay on the units, and definitely a huge misplay on the poison volley. So what gifted King of Yan the victory in game 1 with the excellent use of Hail of Arrow ended up being his downfall in game 3, as that one poison volley sort of ended this game right there and then. And that's it. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the tournament as we have our champion, Zero. And I will probably end up organizing another tournament after Warhammer 3 launches, because the launch process with the previews and embargoes is going to be a pretty busy January for me. So it's probably not going to be right off the bat. So we're going to take a break from the Three Kingdom tournaments probably until, I'm guessing, late February or March, and then I'll set up potentially a bigger tournament. I think we'll have a lot more interest in the tournament then, and hopefully I'll see all of you guys then. So until then, bye!